Today we're doing a gut reaction to the NFL draft. No grades, just the straight skinny on how it affects your fantasy teams. What players' fantasy stock just drowned in a tepid pool of their own filth? And who's got a big fat bullseye hanging around their neck? We're breaking down every division into their own video. This is the AFC East. Welcome to Shut Up Football. I'm Jeff Stoltzfus. That's Kevin. And if you like a little shenanigans with your football content, we can accommodate. Let's jump through some tables. Buffalo Bills. It's a bison. Coming into the draft, the Bills' needs were wide receiver, defensive line, and linebacker. So in the first round, they selected tight end Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. In fact, they traded up, jumping over the tight end thirsty Cowboys to do so. Kincaid was well regarded as the best tight end in the draft, and their investment in him says a lot. This was great news for Josh Allen, at least he thought so, reportedly blowing up GM Brandon Beane's phone with the news. Now there's two things to ponder with this move. One, why did they take a tight end when they needed a receiver? And two, what does this mean for the current tight end, Dawson Knox? Kincaid is a former basketball player, a fact I'm sure we'll never hear mentioned by announcers again. He's a great pass catcher and a shitty blocker. Everybody seems to be of the opinion that he's less of a tight end and more of a big slot receiver. In fact, some have called him the new Cole Beasley. I didn't even realize we needed a new one. I'm still getting the stains out of the carpet from the last one. Speculate with me, if you will. If Dalton Kincaid gets an average 800 yards and 6 touchdowns a year, which is achievable for a slot receiver, he'd be just inside the top 5 for tight ends. That's the upside of the Dalton Kincaid-Josh Allen connection. But to answer the second question, Dawson Knox isn't going away. He just signed a 4-year extension, meaning the likeliest out would be in 2 years from now. Knox is a better blocker and a decent pass-catching option himself, who already has a connection with Josh Allen. No doubt, his stock just took a huge hit, but he's not dead. His upside is just less. He'll get some yards and a touchdown here or there, but nothing consistent that you can bank on. His new role is as the Dalton Kincaid detractor. Knox is going to nibble on that Kincaid upside. A little here, a little there, and that is not the kind of bullshit Travis Kelce has to put up with. I don't want Dawson Knox in any format. I'm also not that enthusiastic for Dalton Kincaid. He's not my prototypical fantasy tight end. As the first tight end drafted, the slot projection, and Josh Allen as the QB, I feel like his price is going to get inflated. Tight end is an important place to find positional advantage, but it's also where you can find good discounts. It's not that I'm out on Kincaid at all, but I doubt I'll have many shares because of how others will value him. I think the double DKs are great for the Bills, but I hope to do a little better at the position in fantasy. In the 5th, they took Justin Shorter, wide receiver out of Florida. 6'3", 224 pounds, runs a 4.55. That's great size and good speed. He showed some decent game tape, but I don't see anything that makes me want to invest in him. Stephon Diggs remains the wide receiver 1. He's getting expensive against the cap, but he's worth it. Gabriel Davis is the number 2, and sometimes feels like one. His production has been very uneven. He's a free agent after this year, and I think he's likely gone. I'm not into him for fantasy. Justin Shorter might just be them getting out in front of that. I don't think he's going to replace Davis as the wide receiver 2 here, just as the big-bodied red-zoned option. If there's anyone here I'm excited about, it's sophomore receiver Khalil Shakir, who started to come on at the end of last year. I could see him taking a huge step forward this year and leaping Davis as the wide receiver 2. And it could be a sneaky play right now, with all the heat on Dalton Kincaid, Davis truthers remaining steadfast that this is the year. I've also seen the Bills linked to DeAndre Hopkins. That wouldn't keep me from stashing Shakir, though. This is their undrafted free agent class. I didn't see anyone notable. There were a couple of wide receivers here, but nothing stood out. Miami Dolphins. The Fins didn't have a lot of draft capital, and they didn't do much with it either. In the 3rd round, they took Devon Achane out of Texas A&M. He's good. Damn good. He's also 5'9", 188 pounds. He ran a 4.32. Look, dude, Achane landed outside my top 10 going into the draft simply because of his size. You can call me a sizist if you want. It's not a word. People comp him to Chris Johnson, but he'd need to bulk up for that. Maybe he can get to that size, but it's going to take some work. and likely some time. Miami's starting running backs are Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. Mostert is 31 years old. Achane could mix in with them, but I don't see him jumping either yet. It might be nothing but kick returns and gadget plays for him as a rookie. So he's really more of a stash. Achane is currently going in mock drafts near Saints running back Kendre Miller and Panthers wide receiver Jonathan Mingo, both of which were drafted prior to Achane. I'm high on all these guys. That's a tough choice, but I'd probably favor both over Achane. Some guys I just need to see at the NFL level to believe. I think that's where I'm at with Achane. I want to believe, but this is a big boy sport, and it hasn't been kind to the svelte. In the 6th round, they drafted Elijah Higgins out of Stanford. 6'3", 235 pounds, runs a 4.54. He's a bit heavy for a receiver, kind of stuck between a wide receiver and a tight end. I'm not looking at him for fantasy. There's not enough here and too much in front of him. Their UDFA class included running back Christopher Brooks out of BYU, who's just a massive human being. He kind of flies in the face of their speed core. Maybe the plan is to sit him next to Achane so he can pick up on his eating habits. New England Patriots. In the 6th round, the Patriots grabbed wide receiver Kayshon Boutte from LSU. Boutte is 5'11", 195 pounds, and ran a 4.5. He had a very promising freshman year in college, but a pretty disappointing next 2 seasons, and dealt with an injury. The starting receivers for the Pats are Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, Tyquan Thornton, and Kendrick Bourne. Boutte kind of reminds me of Juju Smith-Schuster, because he's talented, but also kind of shitty. You know, as a human. There was a lot of talk about his attitude and work ethic. He clashed with head coach Brian Kelly. There's a semaphore of red flags on this dude. However, and you know where I'm going with this, he was viewed as a potential first-rounder before everyone discovered that he was a secret asshole. If Cuddle Bear Coach Belichick can straighten him out, he could pay off huge. He could be a wide receiver 1. I'm not betting on that, but considering he was a 6th-round draft pick and doesn't fill an immediate need on the team, he's probably a luxury late-round flyer I can get behind. They double-dipped in the 6th round with wide receiver Demario Douglas out of Liberty.
Liberty Bibberty.
If they didn't need Boutte, they definitely didn't need Douglas, but he seems like such a nice boy. 5'8", 179 pounds, ran a 4.4. I really like Douglas. He's fast, he's shifty, he's got good lateral quickness and good hands. Plus, I think the back of the draft is a good place to take an undersized receiver. I just don't know where he fits in this offense. He's just a name to keep an eye on. Their UDFA group included quarterback Malik Cunningham out of Louisville, and I'm going to need some extra eyebrows just to raise them. That's a very notable add, especially to this quarterback room. I know the chances of a UDFA quarterback making waves in the NFL are pretty much zero, but we are just coming off the heels of Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. So, if Cunningham makes the team, I'd roster him in deep, superflex dynasty leagues. That's like the Marianas Trench of roster situations. New York Jets. In the 5th round, the Jets shocked my poor stinking heart when they drafted running back Israel Abanakanda out of Pittsburgh. He's 5'10", 216 pounds, and ran a 4.45 at his pro day. He's got an RAS of 9.63. He was one of my favorites going into the draft. So the landing spot ain't great. The Jets already have Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and Zonovan Knight. Abanakanda is obviously not a threat to Breece Hall, but he is to Michael Carter. Maybe not immediately, but he's coming. Carter's fantasy clock just started ticking. Israel Abanakanda is better than Zonovan Knight. He's better than Michael Carter, and that's saying something, because this backfield is an embarrassment of riches. Grab as much Abanakanda as you can. Duh. He's only 20 years old, and I think destined to be the backup to Hall. Yes, I'm pounding the table for a backup to a guy who's a better guy. Is that not how this works? The only other offensive player drafted by the Jets was tight end Zack Kuntz out of Old Dominion. They took him at the top of the 7th round. He's 6'7", 255 pounds, and he is super athletic. He's got an RAS of 10. Yeah, 10. You think Joe Douglas might have seen that? Kuntz does fit a lot of what I look for in a fantasy tight end. But here's the thing. He went to a small school. He's almost 24 years old. Athletically, he's superhuman, but nobody took him until the 7th round. Plus, eyes. I have them. The Jets have Tyler Conklin, CJ Uzama, and Jeremy Ruckert at the position. Kuntz strikes me as a project. Somebody bound for the practice squad. I'd say check back in on him in 2 to 3 years. I liked Jeremy Ruckert coming out of college, but I'm not sure any of these dudes are going to be relevant for fantasy, and likely Aaron Rodgers is telling them to trade for Jermichael Finley right now. Looking at the UDFAs, nothing really stood out. I mean, I really couldn't find much about these guys. The Jets got a bunch of secret football players. One of them had an RAS at 3.2. I kinda liked running back Wayne Tulapapa. Could be just because his name is fun to say. And wide receiver Xavier Gipson showed well out of Stephen F. Austin, which I'm told is a school, and not a pseudonym for Stephen A. Smith when he writes erotic Star Wars fan fiction. Always with the middle initial, this guy. I'd like to think Xavier Gipson could make the team, at least for special teams, but what are the odds the Jets are gonna sign a 5'9", 190-pound wide receiver? Check out the other divisions as well. Post your comments below, subscribe, like the video, say hi to your mom for me. We'll see you next time. Peace!
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
They selected Little Timmy. Little Timmy. Nobody respects his RAS.